Shout out, everybody. What's happening? What's happening? Look, okay. Let's talk for a second, bass players or guitar players. We have the opportunity to get 52.6 million basses in our hands. Plus 4. We have the opportunity to do that because they are available. I mean, there are so many basses out here now that, you know, if you're looking for a bass, if you don't find it within your region, you can go out of your region and find it somewhere else, or somebody can build it for you, or whatever the case may be. But have we ever stopped and thought, the bass that we love the most, is that the bass that speaks the inner us when we play it? You ever thought about that? I'm beginning to think about stuff like that. It's like, when I play, are people hearing the inner me, or are they just hearing the way the bass sounds? Because the bass is a part of you. And whatever that bass sound, whatever you have on the inside should speak to that bass on the outside. So like I said, we have the opportunity to get 52.8.5 million basses. And all of them does something different. All of them sound different, which is basically, when they go to tape, it's a bass. Its main purpose of a bass is to be a bass. Like Jaco. Let's take Jaco for instance. Jaco played a jazz bass. When he talked through that jazz, you knew it was Jaco because it spoke Jaco. That jazz bass spoke Jaco. Not saying that Jaco didn't have 15 other basses or 20. The main bass that he used spoke his language. All right? Spoke his language. So we need to ask ourselves, it's nice to have 30 to 45 basses, but is there a bass that speaks you from the inner you? And is that the bass you're using? And, you know, it's really sad to go to gigs and as you know, people call me a luthier. I'm just a repair guy that loves basses. It's a shame to go to gigs sometime and look at bass players fighting their bass, but they have 2 basses or 3 basses on stage, but they're fighting the bass in their hand. That tells me either that's not the bass for them, or either their hand positions. And people don't think about hand positions. If you play basically in the back of your bass, then you might want to look at a bass that has a lot of more gutty and 1 pickup, because you're going after something that's not there, or something that has 2 pickups, but basically 2 different tones, 2 different types of pickups to give you 2 different tones, to give you 1 amazing tone. I don't think we think about that. I don't think we think about our hand positions on basses. I think a lot of us just play and play very fast and a lot of notes. But the main thing is the voice. You know, when I go hear bands and I look at bass players, I want to hear, is that coming from his heart, or is that just off the top of his head? And is that the voice that I will hear the next time I hear him? Would I hear that same voice? And that's what I'm beginning to think about. And I think we as bass players need to think about, is that when we speak to people, we need the people to know that's our voice forever. All right? I'm not saying that, you know, you got 1 bass and you should play that bass for the rest of your life. Then again, there are people out here that has basses that they've been playing for all their lives, since the 1950s or 60s or 70s, and that 1 bass is all they've been playing. And they sound amazing. You know why? Because they know that bass, and that bass has the mojo of their heart. But like I said, there's so many basses out here nowadays that people don't have to have 1 bass. They can have $52.8 million, 8 million basses, not even dollars, 8 million basses, and all of them talk differently. But if you come to think about it, at the end of the day, they all supposed to sound like a bass, basically. So whether it's a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 18, 24, 48 string bass, you know, if that's your heart in your voice, then that's the bass you need to play, you know. But like I said, we all have the opportunity to play 84.6 million, 0.5 million basses. Because is that just that many out here? But there's always one bass that talks your heart. And I think we as bass players need to come to that conclusion nowadays is, you know, find that one bass that speaks, you know, every time I see you, then that voice, I know your voice. And there are some people out here that, you know, you can tell when you walk into a place that, oh, I know who's that playing. That's such and such playing, because I can tell by his runs. Not his tone, his runs. But when you walk into a place, you're like, oh my God, I know who that is. I can tell by the tone of the bass, the runs, the whole aura of the bass. I could tell who that is. And I think that's what we need to go after this year, you know, as bass players. It's like, man, come to a conclusion of, hey, let's hear your voice the same way every time. And I'm not saying that, you know, every bass you can't hear people's voices in every bass they buy. I'm not saying that. It's the heart I'm going after. I'm going after your heart, baby. If the heart is in your playing, that's cool. If your head is in it, then your heart ain't in it, I can tell you just playing or to entertain, one of the two. But the real speaking of you, there's a bass you have in your house that speaks exactly you. Maybe it doesn't fit every gig that you do. Maybe there is a bass that fit every gig you do, but you won't give it an opportunity. I think we as bass players need to sit down and actually give that some thought. It's like, hey man, I do have one bass that actually, you know, I could play it on every gig, but I may be playing for a choir today, so I'm gonna need a 5. Or I may be playing for such and such today, and I may need a 6. Or I need to be playing such and such today, and I'm gonna need a 7. Whatever bass you have that speaks from your heart is the bass you need to be playing. And, you know, it's amazing because I'm hearing what I'm saying. I'm hearing what I'm saying. And I build basses, and I hear what I'm saying. And I know there is a bass in my house that speaks me from my heart. Not from my head, not from my ears, from my heart. And I try to play that bass as much as possible because that bass deserves to be played. So, to you guys out there who has 84.7.8 million basses, I suggest you play them because you bought them. But there are one bass in your house that speaks from your heart. Ask Marcus. Ask Jocko. Those guys will tell you right off the bat. Anyway, that's my take on the subject of today. My name is Johnny Lee Long. Shadakaka. Peace out.